I just turned. I just turned. I just turned.
We will now reconvene into open session at 5:50. Okay, there's report
we will now
closed session
reconvene into
action.
open
There's nothing
session.
to report.
At 5:50. Okay, there's report closed session action. There's nothing.
Are we good? Okay. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance. From Stanford Avenue Elementary School will lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you for coming.
My name is Annabelle. Thank you for inviting us to lead your meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. We're students from Stanford Elementary School. Saying the Pledge of Allegiance helps form a connection to our country, the United States of America. When we say the Pledge of Allegiance, we honor the flag and everything it represents. My name is Maddie. We say the Pledge of Allegiance to start our day at school, to begin official meetings or ceremonies, and we honor the flag at special events like ball games. We would like to lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Girls, before we excuse you, we'd like to thank you for coming and doing the pledge for us. We have some certificates of appreciation for you. If you'd come up here and receive these, shake my hand, and then walk down and shake everybody's hand here. Maddie Long, congratulations. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And Annabelle.
Thank you.
So much. Much and family members, thank you so much for bringing our wonderful students tonight here tonight.
Thank you. Okay, we will now have comments from the board. I do want to say that my heart goes out to the children that suffered during the shooting. We continue to pray for the families. I was able to attend the chili fundraiser that they did. They did an amazing job. They raised a lot of money. The community came together. It was amazing. It just goes to show that when tragedy strikes, the community does come together and share the pain as well. My heart also goes out to the two young men that they're still looking for. We pray that, they be found. That does give comfort to families. The not knowing is the worst thing. On a brighter note, I did attend the winter concert last night. It was great. Studios and Ishi together. The beginning, they had two kids. They did amazing. They were nervous, but they did great. They were the beginning students. And then they ended with a bang. So they did a great job. So the teachers really working with them, and they're really good musicians. So I just want to say that from my family to yours, happy holidays, and whichever holiday how you choose to spend your holiday. Just be safe out there. Okay. Beth, would you like to say anything? Yes.
Just happy to be here. Nice to see everybody in the audience and have a good Christmas.
Carol. Sandra Barnes.
Yeah, I just want to wish everyone a happy Christmas. Welcome back. Another board, a new board. Last, 2 weeks ago now, we went to Anaheim for
Yeah,
California School Board
we did.
Association Conference. Got to meet a lot of new faces from around the state, take and attend a lot of workshops that helped us to learn new and contemporary issues that our schools are facing. So that was extremely exciting. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
I have no comments at this time.
I do have to say, I want to thank Spencer and the district for allowing us to go at Troy as well. Troy, they send us to some pretty good places to eat food. So we never had a bad meal. So I just want to thank the district and thank you, Spencer and Troy, for leading the conference this year. Okay, Spencer.
And Kim was a big part of that, arranging our travel
You,
and
Kim.
accommodations. Thank you, Kim. We stayed at a real nice place. Thank you. Right next to the convention center. So my first thing is I've been going to a lot of Christmas and holiday programs, and I love going to those. I'm booked up for the next all tomorrow morning to various schools. I try to hit all the ones I can get to. I've also today and tomorrow I'll be wearing a special suit around for some of our younger kids. It's
The red suit?
it's a yes, Andrew. It's a red suit. Thank you. My CBO is amazing. He's so insightful. And it's great to do that. I love being with the kids. And I love hearing them sing and do songs and different things like that. I also went to the middle school band performance and sat with Lisa and CO last night. And our beginning band started off slow. They did awesome. But then by the time we got to the intermediate band, I mean, they were really sounded great. Um, really proud of our kids and our music teacher taking them. And some of those kids have only been playing instruments for 4 or 5 months. So I was really impressed with that. Great job, everyone who performed last night. I'd like to welcome our new board members. Congratulations on the elections, and really enjoy getting to know you better last week at the California School Boards Association Conference. A lot of good training, a lot of things that we're already incorporating that we learned, and excited for the next several years together. And then lastly, I'd like to congratulate our own Bill Agrone, who last night was recognized by the city. He is retiring at the end of this month as a distinguished member of this community, served in many capacities, most recently as our chief of police, also had city administrator as well as fire chief, and several other titles. So thank you, Bill, for your years of dedication to this city. And I did threaten him, he is the police chief still, but I did threaten that if he's retire and leave this board, that he will have a short retirement. So just for the record, you'll know where to find me if something happens to Bill,
Appreciate that.
But thank you so much, Bill, for your service to this community.
Andrew James.
Good evening. Happy holidays. A few things to remark on tonight, but I'll keep it brief. We've been working hard on the audit. Our audit has been extended into February As our auditors got into our books and realized that they also now had a state preschool to audit, there's all kinds of new questions that they had. So it kind of missed our initial deadline, but did receive an extension from the state to have it a little bit later in the year. If you look around the district, or if you've been around the district much, you'll have seen or will be seeing a number of construction projects going on. I do want to start by saying all the construction projects that are currently going on are funded by our Expanded Learning Opportunities Program grant. So it does not come out of the general fund. But currently being installed, the big giant drills are drilling the giant 20-foot deep holes for the outdoor sports pavilions at Ishii and at Central, or the studios at Central. Also, we're putting up shade structures and playground equipment at the other sites around the district. We had a meeting and we're in the process of bringing esports. We do have an esports program at our middle schools that has been going on and been successful. And we are now bringing that to our elementary schools. We have 3 of our 4 elementary schools are already ready to go and setting up rooms for esports. We met with James Wood from the Network of Academic and Scholastic Esports Federations, which is the statewide agency that governs esports, and helped our principals and our teachers understand what the framework is and what the purpose of esports is. So we'll be bringing that to our elementary schools. And unlike the middle schools who play schools that are outside of our district, our elementary schools are just going to play our own elementary schools. So they're not going to be doing anything outside. It's just going to be right now just the internal. And they play Super Smash Brothers and they play Rocket League, which is effectively soccer with a race car. Last couple things, Measure E didn't pass. We needed 55% of the vote. We missed it by about 150 votes. You'll be hearing from us more about what 2026 or 2028 might hold if the board so desires to go for bond again. We were disappointed. We wanted to thank everybody who supported the bond measure. And we're going to kind of reload. Last thing, safety. Obviously, the shootings at the Feather River Adventist Academy were devastating to the community. I was at the Board of Supervisors meeting and heard Sheriff Honey tell the account firsthand. And I took that information and brought that to our safety committee as to how that shooting happened. I would like to say there's some magic way that one could have been avoided, but this was a very, very long planned out and sinister school shooting. According to Sheriff Honey, the shooter had been planning this attack for over a year, used false IDs and false names. And it was a total Trojan horse attack. But we are taking measures up. There are things we can do, and we are doing them. We are looking at some things that'll be coming soon. And again, some of this we don't talk about outside of safety committee. But we did get help from SEC, the company that helped did our most recent safety assessment and trainings. They were on the phone to us the day of the shooting, wanting to know what they could do to help. And they've been helping with answering questions and supporting there. So we're obviously wide awake when it comes to safety. We always have been. That's been our number one priority. And we're going to continue to make our schools as safe as we possibly can.
Thank you. Troy Cox?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome new board members. Thank you for the experience that we had down in Anaheim. Before I begin, it was a great time to get to know everybody, and we learned a lot, and it was very worthwhile. So thank you. And as far as what you have in front of you is our curriculum and instruction board report for tonight. Just a couple things to go over. Our PLCs are in full swing. We've completed our first round of inspect benchmarks, which is for our new board members. These are These are benchmarks that we give 3 times a year that mirror our state testing that help our teachers guide our instruction throughout the year in the hopes of improving student achievement. We've conducted the first round. The second round will be done in the week of January 24th. We've also began the process of creating a district assessment committee where teachers come together and we discuss the assessments that we're going to do. They're called interim assessments. So in between the benchmarks, what the teachers need to help guide their instruction when they're doing the intervention for the students that are falling behind. So our teachers came together and decided on some ideas moving forward. One of them for ELA is a STAR test. For math, we're looking at using the teacher toolbox, which is part of the iReady program. So that was what the teachers selected on the committee. So we're in the process of implementing that as well. And our TK through 2 are looking at their current assessments that they're using in accordance with their report cards. We're trying to ensure that our TK through 2 kids, the ones that aren't tested by the state, are also provided a district-wide correlation with their report cards and assessments. Yes.
What's a PLC?
Professional Learning Community. I apologize for the acronym. I should have started with that. Professional Learning Community. And we will have another district-wide PLC coming up in February to review the scores from January. We're also in the process of continuing our DOJ work as well. We have weekly meetings to discuss PD and progress with admin as well as our outside liaisons that we work with. We're also going to be, when we return back from holiday break, all district admin will be trained on implicit bias. So we'll be going through that. There's 2 trainings that we will do. That's part of the settlement as well, that we'll be able to analyze decision making as at the admin level. So it'll definitely offer some insight. I've been through about 3 or 4 of them, and I learn something new every time I take them. So they were definitely worth the time. And then we also are reviewing our monthly discipline. Each month, part of the DOJ settlement is that we analyze all of our discipline data based on disaggregating it by student ethnicity, by IEP, no IEP, any of those things we analyze if there's areas we need to specifically address. So those areas are all broken down. And then finally, in February, the February board meeting, there will be a mid-year report for the LCAP, which is required by the assembly bill that goes along with LCAP. So I'll be able to bring more of the state data, dashboard data in correlation with our first year of our 3-year LCAP. Any questions?
Any
Thank
questions
you.
from the board? Thank you. Holly Gutierrez.
Good evening. I just want to welcome the new board members, and I'm excited to get to know you and work continuously with you. I just wanted to thank all the staff for all of your guys' hard work. This year has been a really good year so far, and I'm wishing everyone a well-deserved break.
Thank you. We will now have comments by the public. At this time, the board will extend invitation to interested parties who wish to speak on matters which are school-related. For those attending remotely who wish to comment, use your raise your hand button to be called on to speak. Yes.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Cooper, and I have a teacher specialist position at Ophir Elementary. I just want to make an announcement about an event that's coming up in February. Our school district has offered to host a viewing of a movie called Screenagers. I have a flyer that I can give you after so that you'll recognize the advertisement that's coming out. Sure. We'll plan to market it more in January, but I just want to take this opportunity to tell you guys about the movie and why I'm excited to have it be shown in our community. So this is a community outreach event to support families. To have a balance of the use of technology with our kids. It delivers some research-based data about the use and effects of screens in small children, but we see it firsthand at schools. Excuse me. But students are just entering with very limited social skills, kind of like how to make friends and how to be a good friend and how to solve problems. So we spend a lot of time working on social emotional learning in our school day, and give them the skills they need to be successful. But our world is just changing so quickly. So I think this film gives really powerful examples of how technology is influencing us. Screens are here to stay, and they're part of everybody's life, and it's even part of our curriculum. And we have to teach kids how to use the Chromebook because the state tests are on the Chromebook. So it's all good, but we just need a balance. So this, I'm just excited for people to view this. I want it to come as a supportive idea for parents, but not just parents, but everybody. We're going to have the State Theater, so I hope to fill that up. We want to invite the whole community. We're talking about inviting neighboring school districts, and I want to get the word out to preschools, young parents, and we'll have some professional therapists after for Q&A, so to continue discussion, and hopefully some other community resources available in the lobby, like after. So our goal is just to support our community with awareness, give them information to make them informed about the decisions and the use of screens in their own lives. And we intend to present the information in just a super supportive way. We're all in this together, and we just want the best for our students and our whole community. So I just wanted to plant the seed. It will be February 26th. And I hope you'll all consider attending the screening. Thank you.
Thank you.
And just want to remind the public and also my new board members that during public comment, we listen, but we cannot respond to the public comment.
Bush. I'm a custodian at Oakdale. I'm also the president of CSEA, and I just wanted to welcome Daryl and Beth. I'm happy to have you guys come aboard and be on our board. I just had an idea. It's been weighing on me all day. It may not even be feasible, but Friday there's no school, and a lot of people don't have a lot of things to do. I thought it would be a wonderful idea if people could go out and volunteer to look for the boys that are missing. And write that off as their time for the day, have somebody out there to kind of have them sign in. It's just an idea. I don't know if it's something that's even doable, but I think it would be a great support to the family. I know the mother and the father, they haven't even left. They live in Olivehurst. He's been sleeping in the oldest son's van out at the After Bay every single night. The mom has been sleeping in her van every single night, and they're not leaving until their kids are found. So I just thought when we have people just idle sitting, some people have things to do, some people don't. Maybe that might be something that could be done. I don't know. It's just an idea that I've been thinking about all day long. So welcome and thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Christy Anglin. I am the Orville Elementary Teachers Association president. Welcome, board members, and Daryl and Beth. Glad to have you aboard. You guys have seen me before, but I just want you to know if you ever have any questions, please reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk with you, invite you to meet members, and I'm sure they would love to get to know all of you even more. Love to see you on our campuses. So thank you and have a Merry Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, however you celebrate it, and a great break. Thank you.
Okay. We will now move on to our annual organizational meeting. We will have a nomination and election of board president. Would anyone like to nominate?
I nominate Lisa Torres as our president to continue on. She's doing a fine job, and I think another year would be appropriate.
Before
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Before I put forward my second, Spencer, can you please let us know what the role is that we're discussing? What are the jobs, the responsibilities?
Sure. So every year during December, we do what's called a annual organizational meeting. And during this part of the board meeting, we do several different things. First, we nominate and elect a board president, a vice president, and a clerk. Now, everybody on the board has an equal vote on all agendized items, but the president, and actually Lisa currently is our vice president, but she's taken over that role as interim president in the absence of Sharon Nielsen, who was our president. And the president is the one who leads the meetings. And then the vice president stands in the absence of the president, and then the clerk signs different articles and different things. And if the president or vice president were absent, they would take over the meeting and run the meeting.
So, full disclosure, two-time past president, two-time past vice president. The other roles and responsibilities that Lisa takes on in her gracious capacity is to meet with the superintendent once a week, once every couple weeks.
Well, we meet often, but when I have a question or a concern, usually I start with the president, and sometimes we'll discuss, whether or not I need to send something out to the rest of the body, or and some of it might just be logistical stuff that of planning or organizing for the rest of the board. Typically, we would do a agenda review once the agenda comes out. But all board members, when the agenda comes out, certainly has the opportunity to reach out to me, schedule a meeting, and board members can schedule a meeting at any time with me individually. And but I do meet with Lisa on a regular basis.
Thank you very much for that. At this time, I'd like to put forth my second for her nomination as continuing president.
Thank you.
Any other nominations?
Are there any other, excuse me, any other nominations?
Hearing none, we'll ask for a vote.
Okay, we'll now hear a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Pass with yes votes. Thank you very much. We will now have a nomination election of the board vice president.
Miss
You-
Lisa, before we continue, I'd just like to thank you for your community service, your activity. You make a very good president of this board, being as active as you are in the community and as supportive as you are of our town.
Thank
and
you
its
so much.
citizens.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, we will have a nomination and election of the board vice president. Do you want to tell their duties?
I think I covered their duties, and they'll stand in the place of the president in her absence, whether it's here on the dais or when she may not be available.
I personally would like to nominate Sandra Barnes. Are there any
accept.
nominations?
Second it.
Thanks, Beth.
We'll now call for a vote. Any, All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Pass with 4 yes votes. Congratulations, Sandra, and thank you so much for all that you do. You've been on the board for a very long time. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Nomination and election of board clerk. Would anyone like to put up a nomination?
I would nominate Beth if she's interested.
if you're interested. Okay.
You interested?
I'll second that nomination.
Any other nominations? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstain? Pass with 4 yes votes. Congratulations, Beth, on being our new board clerk.
You get to sit next to Bill. I think you're evenly matched.
Yeah.
Okay,
See what I got to sign, it's the same paper.
yeah. Everything except for Bill's retirement. Bill doesn't get to retire. Anything that has to go.
No, you're not allowed to retire.
Okay, we like to appoint secretary to the Board of Trustees.
I make a motion that we elect Spencer as our secretary.
And I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Pass with 5 yes votes.
Did we talk about the secretary's role?
It's too lengthy at this meeting.
We'll ask Emily.
We'll adopt the location, starting time, and schedule of board meetings for the 2025 calendar year.
So, members of the board, we have put forward a possible calendar of dates for this year's meetings. One thing that I would like to propose to the board for consideration is to, one, start our meetings a little earlier, at 4:15 or 4:30. Start our meetings and we can go into closed session and then start our open session at 5. We've been starting our meetings at 5 and then going into closed session. Any conversation or thoughts on that?
Is there anyone with any conflicts, time conflicts during that time?
I'm good with that.
Do you have any?
I probably got a lot going on. I mean,
You have a lot of time, so.
I gotta look at the TV guide. But other than that, I'm good.
And the other thing that, and I don't know if this is appropriate for open session or not, but with your pending retirement from the city, Bill, will we still have access to city council? City council?
Yes, we're just going to have to make an arrangement for someone to obtain a key and a code to the alarm.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so we have to vote.
So, so vote on the calendar and with the adjustment that we will, board, would you prefer 4:30 or 4:15?
It doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
fine with it.
So
4:15?
just,
So I make a motion, we adopt the calendar as presented, and we begin the meetings at 4:15 in the afternoon.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Any abstain? Pass with 5 yes votes. Thank you. Action session. Public comments on action items. The board will extend invitation to interested parties who wish to speak on items that are listed on the agenda. For those attending remotely who wish to comment, you should raise your hand button to be called to speak. The Brown Act does not allow the governing board to discuss or take action on any item that is not posted on the agenda. Is there anybody online?
No.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion on the consent agenda?
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as agendized.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
and I just want to say a quick word. that our personal recommendations, we have a large number of employees, new employees, and also substitute employees that have been added to our list to be approved tonight. And I'd like to thank my office for putting together such a long list of, so that we can continue to support our district, and also like to identify that our after-school stipends for all those who are doing extra work, including, you also see on this agenda, all our after-school sports. We're doing a ton of after-school sports to go with not only esports, but if you look we have a whole page of after-school sports, not only at our middle schools, but at several of our elementary schools as well. So I'd like to thank all those who are putting in that extra time, and the board tonight. Hopefully we'll be passing their extra pay stipends for all their good work that they're putting in.
Any questions from the board? Okay, all those in favor? Any noes? Any abstain? Pass with 5 yes votes. New business, select a date for the board study session.
So it is recommended that January 22nd, 27th, or 29th, or February 3rd or 24th be selected, starting at 4 o'clock as the date and time for a board study session. The study session will be held in the conference room at 2795 Yard Street. And at this particular board study session, want to discuss specifically, and we're still putting together the agenda, of course, but school safety. And also, we'll be doing a review of this past year's academic achievement, which I'm very happy to say that we have some very good news, and our dashboard is looking very favorable this year. And so we'll be reviewing all that data at this board study session, among other things.
So do we have to come up with a date today?
We do need to come up with a date so we can, so everybody can put that on their calendar. I do want to note that we do have Brown Act training on, I think, January the 13th, which is none of these dates, but I just want to put that on the, get that on the calendar of the board members as another possible responsibility for January.
Are there any suggestions from the board?
I noticed a couple of the dates are not on Wednesdays.
Yeah, they're on Mondays.
Be on
You know that, did you
Wednesdays. I can't do
realize that some of the
Mondays.
days are on Mondays?
We wanted to give you, kind of some options there. So, and we can also, I just put down 4 o'clock, but we can also move that back if some of those are on work days or things like that. And there's a board, you also have the opportunity to ask for any other dates within those months, as long as it's not one of our already scheduled board meeting nights.
Is there any day that works especially well for everyone?
$20, yeah, 22nd, 29th.
22nd.
Bill? How about January 22nd?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't care.
See, you already retired because you're going to sleep over there.
You've been talking and talking and
January
talking, and all of a
22nd it
sudden,
is.
nothing.
So
That part. 4 o'clock?
So go ahead and call for us.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I make a motion, we set the date for January 22nd, 2025 at 4 PM at the district office.
Can I get a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstain? Pass with 5 yes votes.
Is that going to be at the district office?
Yes, it will be. District office.
Yes. Approve memorandum of understanding with California School Employees Association, Juneteenth, 2022.
This is an MOU that we reached in our CFIRE bargaining process with CSEA regarding the observance of Juneteenth in 2022. In 2022, we did not observe Juneteenth, and this corrects that oversight and makes those employees whole.
Any questions from the board? Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that we. Oh, where are we?
More on B.
Oh, thank you. That we accept the memorandum of understanding for the observance of Juneteenth, 2022.
Can I get a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstain? Passed with 5 yes votes. Approved memorandum of understanding with Orville Elementary Teachers Association Retirees Early Tell Incentive.
So it is recommended that the MOU with OETA regarding an early tell retirement incentive be approved as presented.
Any questions or comments from the board? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Can I get a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstain? Passed with 5 yes votes. Approve camp use agreement.
It is recommended that the camp use agreement with Sierra Nevada Journeys be approved for grade 6 students at the studios at Central Middle School to attend an outdoor science-based education program March 3rd through the 5th, 2025, be approved as presented. And just like 5th graders are going to Shady Creek, the studios at Central are working on doing something for their 6th grade students, and this is a great opportunity for them to do an outdoor science camp. And this will
Where's that
be
located?
um,
Nevada.
Well, thank you. It's like saying
and I
somewhere in
just
the mountains.
thought it was towards Truckee.
I looked.
I think it was Truckee.
I think it was Truckee. I looked at it just before the board meeting. And this is something that the district will pay for, and I believe they'll be using their
They have some specialized funding at Central, the equity multiplier funding that's one time in nature that they're going to be able to access. And there's also, trying to think of the name of it, not expanded learning opportunities, not the ELOP, but there is another stream of funding that will pay for it for this year.
An alternative stream.
Does the board have any questions or comments?
Is she?
So Ishi has not is not involved in this yet, and I say yet because I didn't ask that question of Vince at the time, Mr. Zhang, the principal. So I will be asking him, if there's any availability for Ishi to go as well. Ishi also has that same funding stream of the equity multiplier money, and this is going to be happening in March. And I'm going to see if they're also interested in possibly looking at this. This was a site-generated activity versus a district activity. So, but we do at every opportunity try to create equal access for all of our kids, just like we did with Shady Creek.
Any other questions or comments? Can I get a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the camp use agreement for Central.
Can I get a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstain? Passed with 5 yes votes. Waive first reading and adopt new or revised board policies and approve new or revised administrative regulations.
So Kim gave me an ultimatum and put all of these new board policies in front of me and wouldn't let me go home for a couple days until I went through all of these. Most of them come from recommendation from the various groups that we work with that help ensure that we have up-to-date legal and with the both state regulations and the education code. And we try to stay very current with our policies and board policies and procedures. but I do go through them, and I do sometimes make subtle changes. Some of those may have to do with our community specific or the size of our community. But I do want to let you know that I've read through all of these and didn't make a whole lot of changes. But I would recommend that we approve as presented tonight.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
And I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Abstain? Passes 4 yes votes. Waive first reading and adopt revised board bylaw 9100.
It is recommended the first reading of the board bylaw 9100 organization be waived and the bylaw adopted. The board will discuss the number of consecutive years a member can serve in the same office.
Does the board have any comments and questions? So do we come up with the number or it's already in there? Or we do 4 years?
Remind me of that. Yeah. So you can come up with it with a number on that one. So currently we're at 1 year, but we can lengthen that if the board so chooses.
Okay. Can you repeat that?
Okay, yeah. So currently our current organization bylaws is that we do the annual organization, year to year.
I see what you're
This
saying.
allows you to change that to where, for example, Lisa we could do 2 years instead of doing an annual organization every year.
I think we should keep it at 1.
I agree. I like tradition.
I think we should, because everything changes so
Exactly.
fast. So we want to make sure that
And-
we stay
Right. And
with the
something-
change.
Something could happen in your
Yeah.
life, just like it happened in Sharon's, and we would have to make adjustments.
So,
Oh, great.
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of keeping it to the 1 year? Sorry, can I get a motion?
That would, that.
Make a motion that we accept bylaw 9100 at 1 year.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstain? Passed with 5 yes votes. Nominations for CSBA's delegate assembly.
The board will consider nominations for CSBA Region 4B Delegate Assembly. This 2-year commitment is effective April 1, 2025 through March 31st, 2027. And what this is each area of California has its own delegate assembly. We're in Region 4B. In the past, some years we haven't had a delegate. And what it is this person goes to CSBA meetings early and meets with the other delegates in the other parts of the state, and they discuss various topics that are pertinent to school boards and to areas. Some years we've had delegates, other years we have not. Most recently, Sharon Nielsen has served as a delegate for our area, but it is a 2-year commitment. It's not a huge commitment as far as time. I think the biggest commitment is, going down a day or two early prior to CSBA. Do you have any
Yeah.
other insight on that? 'Cause
It depends on how you approach it. Most of the board meetings in Butte County are on Wednesdays, which hobbles the delegate assembly member a bit, because what a delegate assembly member is basically it acts as a board member for the California School Board Association. So the purpose of going down a couple days early to the CSBA conferences in the summer, the one in the summertime and then again in the wintertime, is to accept and vote and approve the ed code policies just the same way we do here, to accept and approve the CSBA board presidents and the vice president and the acting members of administration at the CSBA level. Then to come back to their region, which our region is 4B, and incorporate and include all the other districts in Butte County. That's the bit that's time consuming. Many of the boards don't like to respond to the delegate assembly member because I don't know why, but they don't. And if you notice, they don't go to the CSBA conferences either. And no one really knows whether or not they attend workshops for further educating themselves. So that would be part of the CSBA delegates' responsibilities, is to try and get them to educate themselves and to be better board members. It's an extension of a lobby group.
So we don't, it's not required of our board to have a delegate. It's just something that you can do. And typically you would just nominate yourself because it is, it can be a time commitment depending on what you're able to give. So we're usually not delegating each other because that's an additional responsibility, but you can nominate yourself.
Right, and we can have multiple nominees so that when the time comes, then we can vote on who can move forward to the delegate assembly.
So the question is, does anybody want to do it?
That part.
Do it.
Okay. Well, yeah, sorry.
She
I
just
don't
likes
vote,
to
so
stay busy, I'm telling you.
you go.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Can I get a motion?
Yeah,
Yes.
Lisa's the nomination. Lisa's the nomination.
I nominate Lisa for CSBA delegate assembly.
Can I get a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstain? Pass with 4 yes votes. Business and Finance, approve first interim report for the 2024-25 fiscal year.
So this evening I've handed out to you and was also included in your packet, a one pager. Apparently, this was something that's new and hopefully it will be a helpful tool for explaining the budget to the board. What I'm going to do is sort of tell the story and the highlights of the budget as I walk you through the different charts that are on this one pager. At the next board meeting, I'll probably I might do more of a traditional slideshow, but I'm going to just focus on this tonight. The first area is the annual budget process. So if you recall, the state makes their budget. They have their May revised budget the year before the year starts. From that, I make the original budget, which is based on a lot of assumptions. I don't have any real numbers when I make that original budget in May. After I've adopted the original budget in May or June, then the state does their budget. I then close the books. And so I have a good sense of what the revenues actually are going to be. And I have a good sense of what the beginning balances are at first interim. So this is the first interim budget. It's the first amended version of that original budget I made in May, but actually made with real numbers and not made with a lot of, not fully made of assumptions like the original budget. There will be a second interim budget in March that'll have more up-to-date federal numbers because the federal government has a different year. Their year ends on September 30th, so it takes me a while to get up-to-date federal numbers as well. So when I look at first interim, I always think this is going to be probably your operating budget for real for the year, as opposed to the original budget, which tends to be a bit conservative. As we kind of go down the page to this combined budget fiscal year, you can see this circle chart, donut chart of how we are spending our money And you can see 61% is on instruction, 10% instruction related, 8% pupil services. One of the things I wanted to highlight in this conversation is one of the main changes we had from original budget to now is we've had a very steep increase in special education costs. We sat down with our team and went over why these costs are increasing. And there are a couple of main factors that are happening. The first is we're having a bit of a population shift. We're seeing a lot of students entering into special education. Some with some really exceptional needs have entered our district. That drives up the costs of those programs. The other thing that's happening is over the last 2 or 3 years, our partner at the county Office of Ed, has closed at least 4 of the classes that we access to place students. And for example, this year they closed 1 or 2 because they weren't able to hire a teacher, let us know in the summertime, hey, we're not going to be able to run your class. So that leaves us without appropriate placements for students because we were relying on those seats in those types of classes. And we're ending up scrambling, trying to put together the appropriate environment for students with the appropriate services without having that class. So it ends up being more expensive for us because we're having to hire additional aides and things. Whereas if we had a program that was put in place, it would be a lot less expensive and we could share the costs. So that problem is something that we'll be working on as to what we as a district want to spin up and create for ourselves. Many of these programs were things that were shared by other districts, not just us. And so we'll be having to have sort of sidebar conversations with Palermo, Thermalito, other area districts about, hey, if we're going to operate this type of program, if you're going to operate that type of program, how can we work together to make that successful and stable and have appropriate placements for kids and contain costs? So those are the 2 main drivers on what happened with our special education costs between original budget and now. And it's something that we're going to be keeping a very close eye on. So that was the one piece I wanted to get out at this point in this one pager. Annual budget deficit. There's a little bit of background on this. Our budget is divided into 2 halves, our general fund budget. Half of our general fund budget is called unrestricted, and unrestricted is funds that come in that we can spend on things like regular teacher salaries, maintenance, administration, these types of things. The other side of the budget is called restricted. Restricted are specialized programs like special education, but also things like Title I, and some of our other federal programs. So those are a bit less like with restricted programs, if they run out of money, the program itself shrinks. Like in Title I, if we don't have, if our Title I revenue goes down, we reduce the amount of costs that we're spending out of it. So restricted, you don't have to worry about as much because it's gonna self-regulate. Whereas unrestricted is our main pool of money. And so as we're looking at this particular chart, this is showing deficit spending. And going up is a bad thing in this chart, even though I know it's green and I know it's going up. As you can see, we have our revenues for unrestricted are at that $20 million range. And then we have a deficit beyond that of another $1.7 million. So deficit spending is one of the things that's you're going to hear me talk about every single time I present the budget until a miracle occurs and students start showing up and the funding gets better and we're not deficit spending. It's not a place we want to be in. It means that we're eating our reserves to keep the doors and the lights up, doors open and lights on. One of the main reasons that we are deficit spending has to do with our attendance. That takes us to this next little graph. This shows our attendance in 2022 at about 2,000. And then you can see in 2023, we went down another big chunk. In 2024, more and more and more. And as we continue to slide down this chart, we end up with about 1,700 for our attendance in 2027. We've had an ongoing slide in attendance in our district. We've lost about 2% of students year over year, every year that I've been here. There has been one year where it was flat. That was our best year. This year we lost 5% compared to last year, which was unexpected, and in a year where we have a very low additional funding from the states in the form of a cost of living increase. It's a very painful year to have an additional 3% of your budget cut. And if you go to the slide directly below that, you can see it's very small, and I'll work on making these bigger. But you can see this green little donut, and most of it is this LCFF sources. Now that's the funding that we get based on our attendance. So when you think about our budget, yeah, we have other pieces, but most of our budget, almost 75% of it, is based on students coming to school and attending at a good rate. So you can see as our attendance declines, so goes all of our funds. Going to this particular chart with a little line graph, there is a blue line across the bottom that represents our required reserve for economic uncertainties. And you can see it's about $1.3, $1.4 million a year. And that's our minimum that we have to have for us to not be in fiscal trouble according to the state. And as we're deficit spending, you can see our actual ending fund balance goes from 12.7 million to 7.5 million to 2.7 million over the course of the multi-year projection in this budget. So this says to me that Dr. Holtum, Troy, and I, and our administrators are going to be working very hard on how do we slow this down, right? I don't know that I can necessarily find a silver bullet to make this line go up or go flat, but we can certainly work to slow it down. And that's what we're going to be doing between now and the next budget. Because as you can envision, if this trends down another one, when I get into my next budget for next year, it's going to be below this blue line, which means we're going to be in financial AB 1200. I get a bunch of new friends that work in my office with me. And it just creates a lot of heartache and headache for everybody. So we're going to do our best to stem that. And one of the ways we're doing that is we've already planned and already included in this budget some reductions in force that are going to be hopefully achieved via attrition. You had a agreement in this particular board packet about early tell. So I think we have between 3 and 5 positions that we're looking to not continue to have for next year. And we're hopeful, and is always our goal, to not impact individual people, but impact vacant positions. And then the last and final little graph just sort of shows what we spend our money on. And you can see majority of our budget is salary and benefits. So when we're talking about reducing positions, when you're going to solve a major budget problem, that's where it's going to have to start. And that's probably where it's going to have to end. The rest of the budget doesn't consist of much. It's about a quarter of the budget is not salaries and benefits. Again, this is a new tool. I'm going to be working on it. Do you guys have questions about these specific charts or graphs, or any questions about the budget or where we're at? I did include in the board packet the complete budget, which is like 160 pages long. And if you ever want to sit down with me and go through that in depth, so you have a good understanding of the highlights, and I'll be highlighting other parts of it at my next presentation for second interim. I'd be happy to sit down with you and go through that.
So just a couple things that I want to highlight. I know with new administration on the federal level, there was some talk about, some changes to education. And one thing I want to highlight, and if you look at the very bottom donut here, you'll see that over 90%, and it's well over 90% of our budget comes from the state, and only a small percentage comes from the feds. So any changes that we see on the federal level, if there are any changes, won't have a huge impact on us. It may eventually, but according to this budget, the federal revenue that we get is 2.8 million. And typically, with a change of presidents, we see around the same amount of money. It just comes in different forms. But a lot of that comes in the form of Title I money, and Title I money hasn't changed, a lot over the years. Andrew, do you?
So our Title I funding is based on our population. So as our student population dwindles, so goes our Title I money. Of the 2.8 million, the Title I money probably represents 1.2 million of it. The other pieces are the other, and Title I is, again, it's money that's supplemental to help support increasing test scores in schools. That's how it was designed. But there are some other little pieces of money for class size reduction in Title II and for English language learner support in Title III. We also have Title IV, which helps with some technology. And the other big piece of it, probably the other half, is going to be special education funding. So we're hopeful that I know that there's a lot of dust right now that's still unsettled about what's going to happen when the new president takes office. But we're hopeful that they'll continue to support what we feel are some, though they're supplemental, some pretty core services, and also continue to uphold the federal government's end of the bargain when it comes to special education.
I also want to thank you, Andrew. I also want to highlight the fact that one of the biggest variables in this, and we've already kind of talked about this, is the ADA, which is average daily attendance. And I just want to highlight the importance to everyone in this room and those who are listening, that it's so vitally important for our kids to be in school, not only from the academic standpoint, which is our number one goal in education, is to educate our youth, but average daily attendance. And just so the board understands, we're funded through attendance, but it's not based on our enrollment. It's based on who shows up on a daily basis. So if we have close to 2,000 kids enrolled, but to make this equation easier to understand, let's say we only have 1,000 kids and only 90% of the kids show up on a daily basis. We're only going to get funded on 900 students, not the 1,000 that are enrolled. And so any kind of percentage increase that we can get above 90% of kind of where we're at is going to help us with our funding balance and help that final number. Andrew's right. Holly and myself and Andrew met this week to look at special ed costs, and we're trying to mitigate that. But it's really hard to get a hold of that when we see, since the pandemic, a lot more kids qualifying for special education. And we're also seeing a lot of the new kids who move into our area come with special ed services, and they're very expensive. And we don't receive, special education is underfunded in the state of California. And so it continually drives that, our deficit spending, in a downward way. And my last point is, because we saw a 5% decrease versus our 2% projected decrease, we have to right-size our district as far as our staffing. And we've kind of already talked about that tonight, but that's something that we'll be kind of trying to do over the next couple years. And our number one priority, and I know our associations are both, leadership is in attendance tonight, that we try to avoid people and laying off people and things like that, and go after positions that are not currently being filled, or things like that, so that it's not impacting our community and personal lives. So that's where we're going to start, and hopefully, we'll see an uptick in, revenue from the state and things like that that will help slow this process down. So thank you.
So Andrew, what numbers would it take to bring this up a little bit, that line at the bottom,
Um,
that baseline, to keep above
oh,
the
well,
baseline?
the baseline is going to be pretty static, but to keep above the baseline, you can see that we're deficit spending, about $5 million a year. So we're looking at we have like about a $5 million a year issue going forward. Right now, we have some reserves that we're using to get us through the years. The nice thing about utilizing reserves in this way is we can make adjustments and things now to vacant positions and make smaller adjustments now that will pay off down the road, right? As opposed to if we use all reserves up and now we have to make rash, massive cuts, like when 06, 07, 07, 08 came and schools were asked to cut 20% across the board. That was horrifying, right? Because basically everything that's not nailed down, you're getting rid of. So we just need to, I think there are a combination of things that we need to do. We need to make sure we're keeping a strict diet when it comes to our budget and making sure that we have the right size, the right number of people. We need to continue to fight for gaining more students in our community. We do know we have some areas where we could improve that we've been working on that could help drive more students into our schools. And then also working on that average daily attendance. During COVID, what was a 92 or 93% average just all by itself of kids showing up at school became, 78% after COVID. So that's a big drop. And then we're fighting our way back up. We're doing a lot of different things, attendance incentives. We just had the American Ninja Warrior people that were here. That was an attendance incentive program to try to encourage kids, hey, be at school and you can have this, you can participate in this program. Trying to do things like that to get kids to get that number, which is now about 89 or 90%, closer to that 92, 93%, which we were kind of naturally at. Yes, we were doing a lot of work before, but we were able to maintain that for many, many years. So we're trying to kind of grow back up. And when you think about that attendance percentage, it's just the same as ADA. If our attendance percentage went up by 5% and our enrollment went down by 5%, that would be a zero net gain, right? It'd be the same. But it hasn't grown by the 5% that we lost. It's grown by a little bit. We're chipping away at it. But those are some of the things that we can do. Again, getting students in our programs, getting them to be there on a regular basis, and make sure we're cutting as best we can. And we're gonna, I don't think that anybody in this cabinet doesn't look at things with a critical eye. When we felt we had whole schools that we felt weren't able to financially pencil out when things got tough, we brought that to the board and we've closed schools. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I will say this number slides and slides and slides. It's going to have to happen, right? I can't have a school district with 6 schools and 1,200 kids, right? That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So these are things that we will look at critically and be real honest with the board about.
Thank you.
And my last comment, I know we're running a little long, but this is something I think is really important, is when Andrew talks about, maybe through natural attrition, hopefully, losing 5 teaching positions. If you look at this ending fund balance right here, it starts in 2025. And if we, let's say, shrink our teaching staff by 3 teachers, typically we are looking to do that through retirees, and retiree teachers typically make they're the highest making teachers in the district. They're making about just for a round number, $113,000. But with their benefits, with their STIRS, which is their retirement, workman's comp, all that stuff, they're costing the district around 130 or 140, maybe a little bit more than that. And if you take three and times that, that's about $500,000 in costs right there. And then when we're looking at a 3-year projection that we have to build our budget on, we can multiply that 500,000 by 3, and right then and there, we have saved the district about $1.5 million. And that's where, we get our biggest bang as far as, long-term financial stability. And of course, we like smaller class sizes and things like that. But when we don't have the students to support that, we have to look at that. So.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Do you guys have?
Well, that's something that I look at, that we look at as a cabinet very closely. That program has been growing year after year. It hasn't been growing like at the rate of where I need a new teacher every year, but it has been growing, and that is something that we look at very closely when we're talking with families, to see if that's of greater interest to them, because we have to look at all avenues of why kids are not coming to school. And in some cases, it is because since COVID, that's actually a growing program, because some families found it to be, hey, this works for our family. Now, not for, now most of our families were happy to come back to school, but not all of them. And that's when we really jumped, from maybe 1 or 1.5 teachers to 3. And that's something that we look at very closely. But the problem is that if I were to hire another teacher and I didn't have the students to support that, that's when it's very challenging. So we just have to be very careful and very mindful about projections and building that program. But I will say, based on our numbers right now, that we're looking to expand it right now.
Does the board have any more questions or comments? Can I get a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the first interim budget report for 24-25.
Can I get a second? All those in favor? Aye. Any noes? Abstain? Passed with 5 yes votes. Request for leave of absence.
It is recommended that the board approve this agendized item as presented. This is a classified employee who has requested a 6-month leave of absence. This will come at no cost to the district, as it's unpaid for both salary and benefits.
Any questions or comments? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstain? Passed with 4 yes votes, and the meeting is adjourned at 7:07.
Wait, special.
Oh, so members of the board, we now have a special meeting. It will be very quick.
One thing.
Um,
You didn't see that?
Oh, I seen it. I just forgot about it.
So this is an item that came forward to the business office on Friday after the initial agenda was posted, and I'll have our president formally open our meeting, and then I'll have Andrew quickly address why we have to have the special meeting, and then we'll be able to move forward.
You don't want a hard copy?
No, I like my trees. in the
I would
forest.
like to open this session at 7:09. We'll do roll call. Sandra Barnes,
Here.
Bill LaGrone,
Here.
Beth
Parmentier.
Parmentier, I will get it right, I promise.
Here.
Daryl Thompson,
Here.
Lisa Torres, myself, Dr. Spencer Holtum.
Present.
Okay. Public comment on non-agenda items. This time, the board will extend invitation to interested parties who wish to speak on matters which are school-related. For those attending remotely who wish to comment, use the raise your hand button to be called on to speak.
There's no one.
Public comments on special meeting agenda items. At this time, the board will extend invitation to interested parties who wish to speak on matters which are listed on the agenda. For those attending remotely who wish to comment, use your raise your hand button to be called on to speak.
There's none.
Business, thank you. Business and finance. Adopt resolution 242506, notice of intent of withdrawal from NBSIA.
So NBSIA is our workers' comp carrier. We, as a district and we're part of BSSP, went to them at their last board meeting and said, hey, we want you to also do property and liability. At that meeting, their CEO was terminated. So everything kind of got washed off the agenda. If we end up having to go with a different workers' comp carrier for workers' comp, property and liability, because there are other carriers in the state, we have to give this preliminary tentative notice of withdrawal to NBSIA so that in March we can formally withdraw if we want to. This doesn't withdraw us from NBSIA, it just allows us to and gives them appropriate notice. Thank you for having this special board meeting. They let me know about this 2 days ago, and it has to be done by December 31st. The other part of it is we're hoping that we'll be able to stay with NBSIA. They've been a good partner, but there's a lot of question marks right now that would need to be resolved.
Does the board have any comments or questions? Can I get a motion to adopt the resolution 242506, notice of tentative withdrawal from NBSIA?
So moved.
Can I get a second? All those in favor? Aye. Any noes? Any abstain? Passes 4 yes votes. The meeting will be adjourned at 7:11.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait. Several of you